This week's edition of ChurchMediaDesign.tv is sponsored by Worship House Media, resources for the creative church. Check out the Easter store and get all your Easter videos and resources before they sell out, even though they can't sell out because they're all downloads. So go check them out today. Well, welcome to Church Media Design TV. I'm your host, Brad Zimmerman, and as you all know, we have the three wise men and Jesus. We have Colonel Sanders, Little Whitey, Dwight Schrute, and Jesus Christ, the Son of the Lord Most High. Well, this show is tips, tricks, and how-to for you, the church media designer. And this week, we're heading back into the imaging world, and we're going to make some business card handouts, or business card sized handouts, for your Easter gathering coming up. So if the three wise men and Jesus are ready, we're going to get into it. So this week we're going to make business card size handouts that we can use to hand out for our Easter gathering. But before we get into the specifics of how we would make that and where we would get it printed, let's talk about why. Now I got a couple examples of ones that we've done for our church. We just finished a marriage series called In the Ring, and we use this card as a handout, and on the back we have our church name and our web address and the dates of the series. And then this one is one that we did for Moto, our middle school ministry, and just has where we meet and that kind of stuff. And we use these to have our students and our adults be able to have something that they could pass out to their friends and kind of as a conversation starter. So they could say, hey, we're doing this marriage series, here's this card for you. And the same with Moto. Hey, we got Moto going on. You guys should come check it out. Here's a card so you can remember what time it is. And there's a website on the back and it has more information about it. But I really thought it'd be cool if you'd come with me to this deal. So that's kind of the why and the how you would use them. And you can use them for a lot of different things. And if you want to use these sites and these resources to make business cards for yourself, by all means do that as well. But I think it's a great way to use something that's traditionally just here's my name, I'm Jim, and I make plumbing supplies, to go into something that's way more about your church and what's going on there. So we're going to head over to our first resource, which is gotprint.com. Now there's a lot of different places that you can get your business cards printed at, but Gotprint I think is by far the best. There's other sites like Vistaprint and Uprinting that do a great job as well, but I've used Gotprint for all of our stuff, and their prices, I can't find anybody to match them, and their turnaround time is unbelievable. So now we're going to head over to Gotprint, and under print products we're going to select business card, and then we're going to click on pricing. And the coolest part is the price here. So full color both sides, uploading our own design file, not using any of their crappy templates, is $16. $16 for 1,000. Now you can jump up to 5,000 for $50 for color for both sides. So it's very reasonable to print through these guys. So now go over to download templates up in the right hand corner, and we're going to download a template of the actual size so that we can get all of our sizing correctly for print with Gotprint. And all of the sites, if you decide to use a different print company, all of the sites usually have templates that you can use, so make sure to check those out before you start designing. So click on business card 3.5 by 2, and you'll see there's a Windows and a Mac version of Illustrator, Photoshop, or a JPEG. Now we're going to work inside Illustrator today, but you can do this in either Illustrator or Photoshop. And again, if we click over to academicsuperstore.com and type in a search of nonprofit space Adobe, you'll be able to find a listing of all the nonprofit Adobe software. And again, very cheap. You can get the whole production premium for $624, and that has Photoshop, Illustrator, After Effects, Premiere, Sound Booth, Encore, and Flash all in one package. So don't forget to check out that package if you haven't gotten it yet. So there's that one. Also, if you don't want to spend any money, you can head over to inkscape.org Inkscape is a open source version of Illustrator basically. So it has pretty much a lot of the similar features and can open a lot of files that Illustrator can open and manipulate things in a very similar way. So check out Inkscape if you're not willing to fork up the money, or head over to Adobe's website and get a free trial of Illustrator 2 for 30 days. So check those things out. But back at GotPrint, we're going to download a Windows version of the Illustrator template, and we're just going to save that to the disk. And then we are going to head into Illustrator and start messing around with this template and get our design set up. So let's do that. So now let's dive into Illustrator. And as you can see, here's the file that we're actually going to be making today. And it's called New Life is what we're going to say our Easter Sunday is about. And so we have some vines and we have, you know, a cool little new stamp there. And then on the back side of the card, we have this, you know, our church's church media design, of course, and March 23rd, 9:15 and 11 a.m., and then our website, and then it says Easter Sunday on there with more of the vines and our little stamp. So that's what we're going to be creating. But before we get into Illustrator and actually creating this file, let's talk about the difference between Illustrator and Photoshop. Illustrator is a vector-based program, and Photoshop is a raster graphics program. Now the difference is a raster program, if you were going to make a square, it would go through and map out every single pixel and what color each pixel is to make that square. And in a vector program, it uses math to do that. So for a square, it would say point 1, 2, 3, and 4, draw lines between them, and then color it in with a color. And that's all it has to do. It just says fill that area after you've done that. And so it's these 5 mathematical steps versus all of these individual pixels. So a lot of times you get a really small file size in your vector file versus a raster file. The other really cool thing is a vector file can endlessly scale up and down and you never lose quality. Whereas if you would take an image from online, like a JPEG you would find on an image site, and scale that up too large, you start seeing pixelation, because that file is meant to be one specific size and it's not really meant to go up. You can always scale something down, but it's not really meant to go up at all. So that's one of the biggest differences between vector and raster. The other thing is that I wanted to talk about is DPI. Now when you're printing something, vector comes in really handy, because a vector program, since it's endlessly scalable, all those lines are always going to be smooth. So when you print something out, it's always going to have these nice smooth lines like you had inside your program. And that comes really in handy because print resolution is different than what your screen resolution is. Print resolution is 300 dpi, 300 dots per inch that the printer prints out. And that's the lowest baseline. Usually they want higher than that, like 600 or 1200 dpi. Now, you can get images that are that large, but it's nice with a vector file because you don't have to worry about it. If you get a vector file from any site, like we're going to go to a site in a minute, whatever vector file I get, I can scale up and I don't have to worry about it losing quality. It's always going to be able to be big enough to be printed. Whereas an image, you have to make sure that image is large enough. So if you go to a Google and do a search and find some image, or even go to the stock exchange, you need to make sure that image is at least at 300 dpi. So just make sure that your image size is the correct size. And if you would have downloaded that Photoshop template, you'll notice that the Photoshop template is done at 300 dpi. We're going to head over to a site and grab some vector files, because not only do we want to do this cheap, $20 or less, we want to do this fast and not waste too much time on this project. So we're going to head over to our first resource site, which is VectorZ. And on their site they say, stupid name, cool vectors. And all this site is a bunch of different designers who upload free vectors that you can use. And they have some really cool stuff. There's some different licensing things of like that you can use this free for personal use or different levels. The file that I found for us today, which is ornaments, and we'll have a link in the show notes to this, is totally free and you guys can do whatever you want with it. So after you click and download that file, let's open that up inside Illustrator. in here you'll see a couple different really cool little swirls and some vines and some really cool stuff. We're going to grab a couple things out of here. We're going to grab these growing vines and then this big hodgepodge of vines and stuff. And then we're going to grab one last, this little bushel of leaves over here in the corner. We're just going to hit Control-C and copy that, and we're going to paste this into our file we downloaded from GotPrint. Now we're going to go over to our Layers palette. If your Layers palette isn't open, you can go up to Window and then go down to Layers or hit the F7 key. And in the Layers palette, we're going to click this little New Page button and get ourselves a new layer so that we don't have to paste this on top of all the text that they have in here. So then with Layer 2 selected, we're going to hit Paste. And these things are really large. We're just going to move those to the side for right now. So there's a couple things listed on this file that you got from GotPrint that I wanted to talk about. There's the safe zone, the trimming edge, and the bleed. And these are some print terms that I just wanted to go over so you had a better understanding of why we're using this template. Now the safe zone, if you've done anything with video, is very similar to the video safe area. And what it is an area of your print document that will never get touched by the cutting blades, because there's a variation in where it's cutting every time. It's not perfectly exact. They can't guarantee that it's always going to hit at this mark. So the safe zone is an area they know it will never hit. And so they want you to keep all your text and your key elements inside this area. And then you have this trimming edge, which is this pink line here. And the trimming edge has a 1/16 of an inch on each side, and the pink line is where they want that blade to cut, but it might vary a 1/16 of an inch either way. And so you have to make sure you have that bleed, which 2/16 of an inch is 1/8 of an inch. Or no, it's not, but anyway, I'm not very good at math. So the bleed is that extra area so that if the blade is off, you still have more image to work with. So we just want to make sure our image goes to the very outside of this black area and that all of our important content stays inside the blue. So that's why over in the Layers palette, I've locked this layer off, and we can actually turn it off for right now, but we'll actually leave it on just for a moment. We're going to zoom out, and you can grab your zoom tool, or on your keyboard you can hold the space bar and the Control and Alt key, or Control and Option on a Mac. And if you ever want to move around on your composition, here's just a couple more hotkeys. I love hotkeys because they make things go faster. If you ever want to move around on your comp, just hold down the space bar and it will give you your hand tool so you can move around. So we're going to click on these vectors, and we're just going to scale them down a little bit. And if you go to the corner and you hold down the Shift key, you can click and drag, and it'll constrain proportions, scale everything evenly. Now the next thing we need to do is get our text for that new life. And you're going to go get a couple files from DaFont, our favorite 80s font website. The first one is called Impacted, and it's a grungy version of the Impact font, which you also need, which is free on all Windows machines. It comes pre-installed. On a Mac, I'm not too sure about it. So sorry if you don't have that file, but you probably could use like Arial Black instead. It's a similar font look. And then the other font is called Acknowledged, or Acknowledgement. And so just download both of those and install them. So we're going to grab our type tool, and we're going to go up to the character at the top and make sure we have our impacted font selected. And then we're going to write out the word life in all caps and scale that up just a little bit so that we can see it a little better. And then we're going to make this star kind of badge that we see here in our final comp. And this is really easy to do. It's a kind of neat little trick that I've learned along the way. And the way you do this is you go over to your polygon tool. Usually it's selected on rectangle, but I went down to star. You can just click and hold and go down to star tool and draw out a star, but don't let go of the star, because if you use the up or down key on your keyboard, it'll add or subtract points away. So if you wanted to do a triangle, you could go all the way down and get that triangle, or you can just keep going up, and we're going to add a bunch of different points to this. So now that we have a bunch of points selected, you can see that our points are really long and we want those to be a lot shorter. So we can fix that by holding down the Alt key, and that'll allow us to draw the size of our circle. And then if we hold down, let go of that and hit the Control key, we can decide how deep we want those star points to be. So we can either go out and draw a big sunburst, or go in and have this nice little star point. But we're going to just do these nice soft little short bumps. So there's our little badge, and we'll just scale that down a little bit. Again, I'm holding Shift to constrain the proportions. And we'll just change this to the color red for right now. And we're going to move that kind of right over our L of life. And then we're going to move this behind the word life. And the way you do this, inside Photoshop, this would be on a separate layer and we would move it underneath. Well, it doesn't work that way inside Illustrator. We can just kind of arrange objects in the layer order. And the way we do that is with our object selected, we can go up to Object, Arrange, and then we can say Send Backward, which is also Control and bracket. So we'll send that backwards, and now it's behind there. Next, we need to write the word New, and we're going to use that acknowledged font. So we're going to go up and find Acknowledgement and type the word New in all caps. Now the one thing you'll notice is this is pretty fat, and we want to just scale that down just a little bit. So we'll just skew it and make it a little bit thinner. And then we're going to just rotate this sideways until we find something we like. So we'll just kind of move that over, and that looks pretty good. And we're just going to make that white for right now, and that's looking okay. So now that we have those couple things in place, now we can start placing things inside here because we have most of our elements. But the one thing is, you can notice that I had a nice color scheme in this composition with the browns and kind of some more earthy tones of life and that kind of stuff. And the place that I got this was from a really cool site that Adobe made, which is called Adobe Color. It's not really spelled like color, it's spelled K-U-L-E-R. So it's a little different, but on here they have a bunch of different color swatches. And it's they're 5 colors usually, and a bunch of different people just come here and make color palettes that are good at it. I, for one, am not good at color palettes, and I usually get stuck in these ruts of like, oh, these are a couple cool colors I like, and I end up looking back at my work over the last month of doing announcement slides and sermon graphics, and I'm like, I use that same yellow and orange and blue in 5 of these 7 different things. And so it's really nice to have Adobe's color website to go and look for different colors. We're going to use this Cabana Haven. I have no idea. It's German or Russian. I can't speak the language. But anyway, this color scheme here. And the other cool thing is they've integrated Adobe Color into the newest version of Illustrator. You can download this color palette from Color's website, or you can go inside Illustrator and go up to Window and then go down to Adobe Labs, and you'll see Color there. And it says you're going to connect to Adobe or color.adobe.com, and this is experimental and blah, blah, blah. Just hit accept. It's just telling you it's going to the internet. And in the search, actually under this highest rated, we can just scroll down and we'll see this Cabana Heaven Classic down here at the bottom. And you'll see this little button, a plus sign with a bunch of different colors next to it. And if we click this Add to Swatch inside our composition here, it'll add those swatches to our swatch library over here so that we can use those inside our deal. So now we can close out Color, and now we have all these swatches we can use. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a square of our background. And I'm going to make this the size of our safe zone for right now. And the reason I'm just going to make it the size of the safe zone is that way I know what my stuff has to stay inside of. And then I can shut off this background layer so I don't have to see it anymore. And we're going to make this that nice dark brown. And then we're going to take our title here and plop that down in the middle and maybe scale it up a little bit. Now you'll notice this is in those are behind this square. So we're going to do that control back bracket until we see everything, or you can go again up to Object, Arrange, and do Send Backward or Forward or whatever you need to do. So now we're going to click on Life, and we're going to just start selecting our colors we need. So we're going to make that blue, and then our little starburst, we're going to make that red. We're actually going to leave new white. And then we're going to start placing some of these other elements. So let's grab this vine from up here, and let's make this cream color. And we're going to just rotate this so it's kind of drooping down, and we're going to just kind of make it fit on the side here. And again, we're going to go up to Object, Arrange, and we're going to say Send to Front. Send to Front. And so we got that. And then we're going to just hold the Alt key and drag, and it will drag a copy of that. And then we can hold the Shift key, whoops, or we can just rotate that until it flips around. If you hold the Shift key, it will lock it to certain angles. But we're just going to flip that upside down and put that on the opposite side, kind of growing up in this corner, so that we have a little bit of growth, and maybe angle this in just a hair more. So that's looking pretty good right now for the front side. So we're not actually done. We're going to add a couple more elements to kind of change this up and make it really our own. And so we're going to take this other vine element here, and we're going to make it that brown color that our background is. Then we're going to go over to our color palette and make it a little bit lighter, so that it's just a little bit lighter than the background, just to add a little bit more of a texture. So we'll drag this over, and we're going to select this background element. We're going to arrange and send this all the way to the back so it doesn't keep popping in front of stuff. And then we're going to just click and kind of move that behind and maybe scale it up just a little bit so that we have a little bit of texture behind that new life. The other thing we're going to do, we've used a font from DaFont's website. And one thing I've noticed, even when I look through Relevant Magazine, is how many fonts from DaFont's website gets used in people's designs. And it's really cool. I mean, that's awesome for those designers, but it makes it look like, oh, you just took a font and slapped it on your deal and called it good. So we're going to take this font that everybody's probably seen impacted and try and make it our own a little bit. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to click on this life, and we're going to right click and say Create Outlines. Now this is going to make it so we can't edit the text anymore with the type tool, but what it will do is make it so we can kind of edit the points on here and change the file up a little bit. So with that selected, we're going to ungroup it because it comes grouped together, so that we can just mess around with this eye. We're going to go up and select our white direct selection tool, and then zoom in, and we're actually going to release the compound path, which actually is the way that you can kind of see through things. That's a little bit more than you need to know. But we're going to just take this top line here, and we're going to click and drag that down quite a ways. And we got these extra points here. We can kind of just drag these guys down and around over here until we get something looking the way we want it to. So we'll just kind of drag these and try not mess up our file too much. So we got something that still has a little bit of a grunginess to it. And we've left a little space here so that we can go up and we can grab our little bushel and make that the dot of our eye. And we're going to make this the same color, and we're going to just scale it down a little bit so that it will fit in here and make that our eye. So I'm thinking that looks pretty nice. Maybe we want to bring this back up a little bit to right about there. So that's looking pretty cool. So now our front side of that card is done, and usually I like to make the front side just an announcement of what's going on, like the graphic for your series, and nothing more than that. So now we'll go into our layers palette, and we'll click on New Layer. We're going to go and select everything from our old layer, and we're going to go Control C and copy that, and then we're going to paste that onto our new layer. And we'll kind of line this up. I'm just using my arrow keys to kind of line this up. And then we can shut off this layer 2 and lock it so that we can't mess around with it. And now we're going to alter this for the back side of our card. So fast forward into the future, I've gotten that laid out in the corner here, and we have it saying Easter Sunday, and we got our vines all grouped kind of down in the corner so that we can put all the information we want up in this other area. And to me, the most important thing is, when is it? Probably where is it if people don't know where your church meets. Who are you? And then where can I find more information? So we're going to go up and we're going to grab our impact font. And the reason we're going to use impact and not impacted is because impacted is more of a design font, whereas impact is a little bit better font for you to be able to read. So we're going to type in our church name, which we are Church Media Design. Desing. Brad can't type. And we'll make this that cream color. And we'll just scale this up to our desired size. And I like doing things pretty big on these cards because you don't really have to fit tons of information, so you might as well make good use of what space you have. So I just copied that, and then we're going to say March 23rd, 9:15 and 11 a.m. And we'll just scale this down so that it's about the same size. And then we'll make a couple more copies here for a little bit more information. Now, one thing you can do in here is you can actually mess around with using some of the other colors to make some things more important looking. So like we'll select 9:15 and we'll select that blue color from the front side and the 11, and we'll select the blue just so that pops out a little bit more. And maybe we, to make our web address a little easier to read, we'll do media in a different color. So it's Church Media Design. And you can just mess around with some of those kind of things and mess around with your spacing, but those are the basic elements for that file. Now, the one thing that you'll need to make sure you do is change all your text to outline. So after you've had somebody proofread and check over this file, you'll want to make sure to make all your fonts into outlines. The one other thing that I forgot is we need to make sure to make this background the full size of this page. So we're going to just select and make this the whole area here, and we'll click on and check out our other one and make this the full area, and there we go. So then you'll want to save out two different files, a back and a front file. We did them in the same one, but you'll just want to save out one for each. And you won't want to have any of that title safe and trimming edge and all of that stuff on either. So just what you want them to see. So we'll just take this, for example, we'll shut off everything else, and we'll actually just delete that, that layer that we don't need. And we'll just have this one layer on, we'll go File and Save As, and we'll save it as an Illustrator file. So now our files are saved. So now we can head back up to GotPrint's website and go through their process, and they'll ask you what quantity you want, if you want it rush delivered, and they'll ask you for your two files to upload those. And so you'll just select your card front and your card back, and you'll upload those, and they'll send you an email saying that it's been approved and that it's ready to go, and they'll print it out and ship it to you. So that's how easy it is to get some cards done and have them look really nice. I'll have that file, that Illustrator file, up on the website for you guys to download, and I'll leave it so you can edit the text to change it out to make it say whatever you want for your Easter gathering or for another series maybe in the future as well. Well, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Church Media Design TV. I know I'm glad to have you here, and I know the boys are too. And we want to say a special thanks to our sponsor this week, which is Worship House Media. And if you found us through them, that's awesome, and I'm glad that you're here tuning in for the first or the second time. And if you want to head over to their website and check out some awesome resources, Worship House is a kind of holding ground for all of these different church media producers. And it's a great place to go to get some really good resources. You can get videos that would take me or you 10 hours to make, you can get for 20 bucks. And it's a great use of your time and money to do that instead of producing some of this stuff sometimes. So I would go over there and check out that. They have a lot of stuff up for Easter, so grab yourself some cool new videos. I just saw one from Igniter today that was really cool using this old Gaither song. So, which I know the Gaithers are old, but it's still a really cool video. It's very powerful. So check that out. And do me a favor, head over to their blog, which I think, let's see what the address is. It's worshiphousemedia.com/blog. Go over to their blog and go to the show notes for episode 29, which was the first episode that we were a sponsor on their show, and go leave them a comment or two and just say, hey, what's up, Kent and Dale? Brad told me to say hello. And so just go leave them some comments so that they know that our viewers know about them and what's going on there. And check out the blog because they post new stuff like this Because He Lives video that I was just talking about. That's where I found out about it being online. So we just want to thank Worship House. So after you're done at Worship House's site, head over to ChurchMediaDesign.tv and leave me some comments as well. Stay in touch with what's going on our website as well. Leave me questions and comments. You can send me an email, brad@ChurchMediaDesign.tv. Also on the webpage where you normally leave comments, we're going to try something new and have you guys do a poll. And what I want to know is, do you guys want to know about open source design software, or do you want to know about Adobe's design software, or do you want to know how to use some totally different kind of software? There's a couple open source versions of Photoshop and Illustrator that are totally free, and so do you want to learn how to use those, or do you want to learn how to use Photoshop and Illustrator? So go and leave your comment of open source or Adobe or other, and let me know what you're thinking as well as maybe what you're using. But it's time to wrap up the show. So as for me and Colonel Sanders, Little Whitey, Dwight Schrute, Jesus Christ, the Son of the Lord Most High, we're saying see you later.